So now we're just going to go down the line and look at some of these other objects here. We won't go over everything because you can go through the help and look at those. But let's just pop in here and look at some of the stuff that we have. So this is an array object. So it's kind of an advanced cloning object. So in order to use it, you would take a polygonal object and drop it into the array. And you can just adjust the parameters here. And this thing was really... This is a really old object for Cinema 4D, and it's kind of not really used much anymore. Depends what version you have. If you have the MoGraph module, then you're going to want to use this cloner object. But if you don't, then you can use this array. But you can just screw around with the array settings here. That's how it works. It's a generator again, so you want to put things inside of it. This atom array is kind of a really cool thing to use for modeling, to do like stuff with like framework really quickly, and I'll just show you how you use it. So all you do is get a polygonal object and then drop it in there, and then all of a sudden you have this frame, and in the atom array you can adjust the cylinder, and so it's made up of cylinders and spheres. So where the points would be, they're spheres, and where the edges would be, they're cylinders. So if you want them all to be the same, you make that the same size. And then if you wanted to make this like a frame, it's pretty awesome because it allows you to keep it parametric, so you can change these settings. So then we can just go like this, and if you wanted to make a cage or something like that, you can drop any of these primitive objects in the atom array. So we can put this plane in there, and then go into the plane and change its subdivisions if you want to make something like a net or like a cage. So again, play around with all these primitive settings and the settings within the generators and all these different objects, because you might be surprised how close you can get things to look to the way the final object you want, just by messing with the settings. So Booleans are... These things are kind of like one-trick ponies. They can help you do things that might be really hard in other ways, but as you start learning 3D, and you'll learn about what is good topology or good geometry. And topology is how polygons are laid out. So like if we look at this cube, this is its topology. So this would be really clean topology because all of the polygons are symmetrical and it just looks nice. And if I were going to go to get this knife tool, and you get the knife tool by pressing K, and we'll go into the knife tool more when we get into modeling. But if I were to go like this and cut a bunch of slices in this cube, now this would not be nice topology because it's uneven. It's just, this isn't good topology. So topology, good topology is usually symmetrical, and it looks nice when you look at it. It doesn't look chaotic. So the Boolean object, how do we use this thing? So it's a generator, but it needs two objects. So a lot of times you would use this. Let's get the cylinder, put it through this cube. You use the Boolean to cut holes in objects or to cut things out. So I'll just show you. So if we click on the Boolean type is A subtract B. So the first object you drop in it is A and the second is B. So let's just say create single object. So we want to cut the cylinder out of the cube. So now we have a hole in the cube. So it looks pretty good, right? But if we go and look at the topology, you see it does this kind of weird stuff and makes these triangles and weird things here. So as you go further in 3D, you'll learn about why you want good or bad topology and why it really matters. It really only matters if you're going to animate things, if you're going to rig them and skin them, like if it was going to be a character's body and you need it to deform, so you need it to move, then you don't want to use these Boolean things because it gives you bad topology most of the time. But that's how you use Booleans, and a kind of a cool thing too is that they are alive, so you could even move these objects and see a preview of what they're going to do. And you could animate this if you wanted something like this animated. So that's what Booleans are. And like everything else, if you wanted to make it a polygonal object itself, so you can edit this stuff, their polygons while they're together, you would click on the bool and click C to make it editable. And then now we could go and mess around with these polygons, points, or edges like anything else. So that's what Booleans are for. They're something that you would use just in certain circumstances, but in certain circumstances they can save you a lot of time, like cutting holes out and stuff like that. So another thing, this metal ball object, this is kind of a weird thing. think of this as kind of like a blob object, and to see it work, you would want to put a sphere in here, and actually you would want to put 2 spheres. So I'm going to duplicate that sphere, make it a child, and then oops, let's move it around. And you see what the meta ball does? It kind of combines things, have this kind of like goo, and you can do really crude liquid stuff with meta balls, but they're really in need of an update with Cinema 4D. They're really old, and they'll probably do something to fix them up soon, hopefully. So you can adjust these, but it might work for some things you're trying to do if you wanted some real quick looking organic thing. That's what meta balls are for. And you can put as many objects as you want here and get this going on. And just because I don't even really remember, oh, okay, yeah, you can put other polygonal objects in here with different results, and you can also put splines in them. That's something maybe not a lot of people know, but you can drop a spline in there and be able to make some weird goo with splines too. So that's how metaballs work. And again, if you wanted to make it a polygonal object, just make it editable. Now you have these polygons, these triangles. This is not good topology. So it has these triangles, and it's all super high resolution because it has so many polygons or triangles and points. See? There's too much going on here. We don't like that. So, and the last one I'll go over in here is a symmetry object. So let's say you wanted to have an object, so when you want it to, so with the symmetry object, it does what it says. It makes things symmetrical. So if we, to see it work, we put a cube in here, so now it's mirrored the cube, and you control things based on the mirror plane. So you can use its default, and you would pull the cube around and see which planes it goes on. So right now we're using the ZY, but you can set it to whatever you want if you wanted to have it clone or. So the last one we'll go over is the symmetry object, and it does what you probably think it does, in that it makes things symmetrical, and that it makes a clone, or it mirrors things. So that, let's make this cube editable. So if we wanted to model on this cube or whatever it is and have the same thing happen on both sides, so if we pull this point, and as you can see, it's doing the same thing to the other side, it's making it symmetrical. So we can model, like, this is a good way to model. If you're modeling characters or stuff that you want symmetrical, you can do it like this. And you see things are getting kind of weird here, so let's pull our cube apart. And there's a setting in the symmetry object, it's tolerance, so we'll turn this up. So see, it helps this stick together better. So that's what the symmetry object does. And again, like everything else, if you want to make it one thing, you would make it editable, and then now you have all these polygons and points and edges available to edit.